What's up, everybody? Rob here. So have you ever heard of a story that's just so utterly insane and twisted that you only think to yourself, why is this not a movie? I mean, why are we not getting this story, but instead we're getting this endless succession of reboots, reshoots, sequels, prequels, and the other stuff that Hollywood's been giving us for the past, 5, 10 years or so? Well, I got one of those stories for you today. But before we go any further, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends. Join millions of players worldwide as they compete... Sorry, I can't do it. I love me some martial arts. More importantly though, I love fake martial arts. I love just, got things that guys can do like magical power stuff, like you just tap the guy with your hand and he falls over and when they get busted, about how it utterly doesn't work, because martial arts are not magic. But, I love it. So, this is actually one of the early progenitors of the fake martial arts movement. This is a very brief look at Count Dante and the Dojo Wars of 1970. All right, here we go.
Our story begins with this guy here. This is John Keown, who was born in 1939 in Chicago. He was an early adopter of the martial arts here in the U.S. and began training in karate and eventually earned his black belt under legendary teacher Robert Trias. After achieving his black belt, he formed his own school and eventually helped found the U.S. Karate Association, and also helped organize the first full-contact karate tournament located at the University of Chicago in 1963. Now, by all accounts, he was a very gifted student and capable teacher, and he was also very striking physically. He was very tall and athletic, as well as very highly coordinated, and this gave him a very promising career in the martial arts. At this point, things went a little bit haywire. In 1967, he legally changed his name to Count Juan Rafael Dante and claimed that he was descended from Spanish aristocracy that fled Spain after the confusion of the Spanish Civil War. Now, this should be a communist rally's worth of red flags right there. Dante is, in fact, an Italian name, not a Spanish one, so, okay, that should set up some signals in your head, but okay, fine, whatever. He also started claiming, much like Frank Dux would in later decades, that he participated in underground death matches in Thailand and China. Basically, underground kumites where in front of thousands of spectators where people would fight to the death and that he would be the only survivor after defeating hundreds of opponents. Yeah, of course, this was not true, but, okay, it's basically a proto-version of Bloodsport, but whatever. Great movie, though. Horribly, not true, but good movie. As you can imagine, he also adopted a bit of a flair for the dramatic, including walking his pet lion through the streets of Chicago, which was legal at the time, showing up at Muhammad Ali's house demanding to fight the champion, though in all fairness, Muhammad Ali did the exact same thing when he was preparing to fight Sonny Liston. He would just show up at Liston's house and start demanding he fight him, so turnabout's fair play, I sort of guessed. And he also participated in a very aggressive advertising campaign for his karate school. He, in one instance, for example, bought a bull and he paraded it around Chicago on a flatbed truck and stated that he would kill the bull with a single blow from his hand. Although he never actually did do this, there was an event scheduled in which he was going to do that, and then at the last minute he said, "Oh no, the ASPCA shut it down. Yeah, I totally can't do this, guys, but I totally could. I totally could kill this bull with one, I just hit it with my hand and just knock it out dead. I could totally do that, but I can't do it because, the ASPCA is here. Sorry, guys, can't do it." Now, this, of course, is copying the playbook of Mas Oyama, a legendary karate practitioner who actually did do that sort of thing in Japan. And martial arts at this time was still somewhat new, so we can sort of tap into the mysticism of his abilities to promote his work. Skepticism in the martial arts world was not really there at this point. It was so new that people really couldn't be bothered to question it all that much. However, his most famous examples of self-promotion come from the comic books. If you were to open up a comic book from the 1960s, it would be filled with advertisements for products that would play on both the fantasies and the insecurities of young and adolescent boys. For example, how to build muscle using dynamic tension, x-ray glasses, and other novelty items. And promoted his manual of the dim mak fighting system. Now, the first 2 pages of the manual was actually a boast from Dante about how handsome he was and how he was one of, if not the greatest martial artists alive, and also that he was an excellent dancer and classical singer. He claims to have collated the dim mak fighting system, which stated, and I quote here, "Yes, this is the deadliest and most terrifying fighting art known to man, and without equal. Its maiming, mutilating, disfiguring, paralyzing, and crippling techniques are known only to a few people in the world. An expert at dim mak, it could easily kill many judo, karate, kung fu, aikido, and gung fu experts with only the fingertip pressure using his murderous poison hand weapons. Instructing you step by step through each move in this manual is none other than Count Dante, the deadliest man who ever lived, the crown prince of death. Now, should you purchase this manual, you would also gain a membership card to the Black Dragon Fighting Society. For $5, this could be yours. In fact, the martial arts community was not a fan of these antics. They felt that Dante was making the martial arts more spectacle than legitimate, and that he needed to be shut down. They did not like the full contact, no protective gear tournaments that he hosted. This was in addition to his other antics, for example, walking around with a pet lion and claiming that he could kill a bull with one hand. Dante replied by saying that most martial arts at this point were watered down and that the typical black belt was utterly incapable of fighting effectively, and that basically he was putting the martial back into martial arts. Well, because of this, he became somewhat of a pariah within the martial arts community. Black Belt Magazine refused to cover any further tournaments that he had hosted and basically went from being the darling of the martial arts world to a social pariah. Well, it was about this point, too, that he began to have intensive rivalries with the other dojos in the Chicago area. They became so heated that Dante engaged in what became later known as the Dojo Wars of 1970. In the first incident, Dante and a student of his, Doug Dreyer, blew out the window of a rival dojo with dynamite blasting caps. They were drunk at the time. Seriously, they got drunk, and this is really what happened. They got drunk, and they said, hey, there's that rival dojo. Hey, let's go blow it up with some dynamite blasting caps. So they did, and they blew out a window. Not making this up. That actually happened. The other incident, which is way more bizarre, occurred when Dante's Black Dragon Fighting Society attacked the rival Green Dragon Society's Black Cobra Hall, because this is not confusing at all to try to keep track of. But, it's a rival dojo, and Dante decided to have a nice little gang war with them, and, well, basically it's something like right out of a kung fu movie. Well, in any case, Dante and 3 of his students went off to the rival dojo, where they were met by 6 members of the Green Dragon Society. Now, of course, as you can imagine, there was some yelling and screaming and, carrying on, like, chest pumping, chest puffing and, bull talk, that kind of, basically, this typical stuff you get in these types of situations. And there's some dispute as to what exactly happened. One version of the story, one of Dante's students hit his opponent in the face with a nunchuck. In another, Dante was the one who threw the first punch, hitting the Green Dragon leader in the face and hurting his eye so badly that it needed surgery later on. Well, in any event, a brawl broke out, and in the confusion, Dante's friend and student, Jim Kovacic, a Green Dragon student from behind by the name of Jerome Greenwald. Doing what one would expect in a situation like this, he grabbed a sword from the wall and stabbed Kovacic in the chest with it. He eventually stumbled out of his dojo where he collapsed in a pool of blood, and Dante and the rest fled the scene. Now, as you can imagine, the police showed up and they started arresting people because, well, there was an investigation. Like, you can't go around, like, stabbing people and causing brawls in dojo without the police getting involved. And eventually, Greenwald would be charged with murder, and the rest were charged with various charges, including aggravated battery and impersonating a police officer, because let's just throw that in there, too, because this is not bizarre enough. Well, what happened after all this? Well, nothing. Nothing at all. The judge looked at the details of this case and dismissed it all. It was honestly too insane for him. And though he did rant at everybody there, saying that everybody in that courtroom was as guilty as the others, and that basically they're all insane. However, this did have a profound effect on Dante, and he eventually withdrew from public life, although he was eventually implicated in 1974 in the middle of a bank robbery, which saw the theft of $4.3 million. Now, he would be investigated for his role in this. He would pass a lie detector test, but eventually would fall into deep depression and despair and would become addicted to alcohol and painkillers. He would die on May 25th, 1975 from hemorrhaging from a bleeding ulcer, thusly ending one of the more colorful chapters in martial arts history. So yeah, it's just one of those really bizarre stories that I'd heard, and I just figured I'd share with all of you guys. I really think this should be made into a movie because, that would be kind of cool. I know it's really not one of my longer videos, but I just thought it would be something cool and interesting to talk about. So, any case, that is it for this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. More videos coming out whenever I get around to it. Have a good day. Or don't have a good day. You're adults. You can have any kind of day you want. See you later.